What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 college football schedule preview and projected record series. The Colorado Buffaloes are up next, and before we preview their schedule for 2024 and give them an early projected record based on how tough their schedule is, let's take a look back at what Colorado did in 2023. Here were my projections and predictions last year for the Colorado Buffaloes. My projection had them at 4-8, and then my prediction for this team was 3-9, so I was not very high on Colorado like a lot of people were from last year, but Colorado did end up going like 4-8 last year, so I was right on the money with their projection, but it was a little bit short there with my prediction for them at 3-9 in 2023. Yes, the schedule was very tough last year, and this was obviously a first-year head coach with Deion Sanders in 2023 as well. Here was the schedule last year for Colorado. You look at their non-conference schedule, had a very tough non-conference schedule with TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State. So they had three tough non-conference games to kick off the season, but they ended up winning all those non-conference games, which turned out to be a very big surprise, especially that TCU game, the first game of the season on the road. And then they played Colorado State here. That was the only easy game here in the non-conference last year, but it wasn't really easy. The game went into overtime last year, and the game was really heated between those two teams. So again, a very tough non-conference schedule. Then, of course, you look at the Pac-12 schedule. This is where the schedule got tougher for Colorado. They had to play Oregon on the road, ended up losing that game as we go through the list here of the teams that they lost to. Lost to USC here at home, Stanford here at home in overtime, UCLA here on the road, Oregon State here at home, Arizona at home, Washington State and Utah to both end things out on the road. So again, a very tough Pac-12 schedule last year. It was pretty much, their final year in the Pac-12. They're now heading to the Big 12 in 2024. Let's now look ahead to 2024. Here is that schedule for Colorado for the upcoming season. And before we go game by game, let's take a look at who Colorado will play in the non-conference this upcoming season. So this is their non-conference schedule. They will play North Dakota State, an FCS team here. That's going to be a very tricky one there against like a really good FCS team in North Dakota State. I know that it's a game that, Colorado should win big, but again, that's not going to be a very easy game. And then they get Nebraska and Colorado State here, both on the road in the non-conference. So they will have a very tough non-conference schedule this year. Again, not a very tough non-conference schedule with North Dakota State in there, but Nebraska and Colorado State both on the road will be tough games. They did play both of these teams last year, and then this time they will play them both on the road. Again, Nebraska here on the road and then Colorado State here on the road. So that's the non-conference schedule for Colorado in 2024. Let's go back to the schedule now and go game by game now here for Colorado. Again, they'll kick things off with North Dakota State here on August 31st. And then after that, they go on the road to play Nebraska here on September the 7th. Then it's on the road here at Colorado State here on September the 14th. So they will have back-to-back road games here on September the 7th and September the 14th, both in the non-conference. And then they open up Big 12 play here at home against Baylor on September 21st for their first official Big 12 matchup. And then, of course, UCF here on the road on September the 28th. And then they get a bye week here in the first weekend of the month of October. They get to the month of October. They'll play Kansas State here at home on October the 12th. Then they go on the road to play Arizona here on October the 19th. Then it's Cincinnati here at home on October the 26th. And then they get their second bye week here in the first weekend of the month of November. They get to the month of November. They'll go on the road here to play Texas Tech here on November 9th. Then they'll come back here at home to play Utah on November 16th. And then it's Kansas here on the road on November 23rd. And then it's Oklahoma State here to end things out on November 29th. So that's a pretty tough November schedule from Texas Tech all the way to Oklahoma State there at the end of the season. And when you look at this schedule, it's a very tough schedule for their first year in the Big 12. But again, a lot of the Big 12 games are definitely very winnable games. But you look at the non-conference schedule, that's a very tough non-conference schedule when you got Nebraska and Colorado State, two teams that you played last year at home. But this time that you'll play them on the road. So let's get a projection now here for Colorado. Again, this is not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on how tough the schedule is. And this is the scale I use here for my projections. If it's a 1% game in the red, that percentage is counted as an automatic loss there in the red. 20% games in the orange are going to be games where Colorado will be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs. 40% games in the yellow are going to be games where Colorado will be about a heavy underdog game by about a touchdown. 50-50 games will stay in the white, of course. Games I think can go either way. And then 60% games here in the purple are going to be games where Colorado will be favored by at least a touchdown. And then 80% games here in the blue, they're going to be favored by a couple touchdowns and also by double digits. And then the 99% games here in the green, these are pretty much the automatic wins. They're not guaranteed wins, but they're counted as automatic wins here when we do these projections here for all these teams. So we'll start with the easy wins here for Colorado in 2024. And realistically, I only got one easy win on here for the Buffaloes, and that's North Dakota State here on August 31st. This is the only game that I see Colorado being favored by more than 3 touchdowns. I think they should go out there and take care of business against this North Dakota State team, but again, it's not going to be an easy game. North Dakota State's a pretty good FCS team. We've seen them at the FCS level pretty good over the years. And it could be a very tough game here for Colorado. This game, it could be at least at 90%. I think that game could be at least at 90%, even though it's an FCS opponent. So, but again, Colorado will be favored in this game by at least by more than 3 touchdowns. So you can count that as an automatic win there for Colorado in this projection. But again, it's not a guaranteed win, but it's an automatic win here for Colorado for this projection for 2024. I don't have any blue games on here for Colorado just because there's not really any other games on here that I see Colorado being favored by double digits and also by more than 3 touchdowns. But I do have one game on here in the purple, the games where Colorado will be favored by at least a touchdown, and that game is on the road here at Colorado State. So I think Colorado, even though it's on the road at Colorado State, I think they'll be favored by at least a touchdown just because of the talent-wise. I think Colorado has a more talented roster than Colorado State does. And I know the game was very close last year. It went into overtime, but I think Colorado will be favored here in this one by at least a touchdown, even though it's on the road and everything. But again, Colorado, if they would have lost to Colorado State last year, this definitely would be a 50-50 game. But I'm going to stick with it here and put it in the purple for right now. And I think they're going to continue that rivalry there, it seems like, with all the conference changes all over the place. So I think Colorado and Colorado State should be another interesting matchup there. All right, let's now go to the games where Colorado will be underdogs in. I don't have any red or orange games on here, but I do have a lot of yellow games here at 40%, the games where Colorado will be a slight underdog in. And again, that's almost the majority of their schedule. I got 5 of them on here: Kansas State, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I got all these games here in the yellow. I think these are definitely games where Colorado has a chance to compete in. They will also be heavy underdogs in all these games here in the yellow. Kansas State, you're playing them at home. That's the reason why that game is in the yellow. Same thing with Utah and Oklahoma State. Both of those games are at home. That's the reason why they're both in the yellow. Now, Texas Tech and Kansas are both games that I probably could put as a 50-50 game, but I'm going to stick with those and put them in the yellow just because I think Texas Tech and Kansas are definitely more talented rosters than Colorado as well. So I think all 5 of these games are yellow games here for Colorado. They're not very losable games. They're not really automatic losses either. They're definitely very winnable games. And when it comes to the Big 12 this year, there's definitely a lot of very winnable games. And this is just the reason why all the Big 12 teams that we have projected already, these are always really tough projections when it comes to the Big 12 Conference. So again, all these games that you're seeing in the yellow are very winnable games for Colorado. They'll be just slight underdogs in all these games by at least a touchdown. So again, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State are all games here in the yellow for Colorado. And then the rest of the 5 games on here, Nebraska, Baylor, UCF, Arizona, and Cincinnati, are all my 50-50 games here for Colorado for 2024. I think they can go either way. I know Colorado beat Nebraska last year, but it is on the road this year. That's the reason why it's a tough game to call. And then, of course, Baylor. I know Baylor was not a very good team last year. That's a game that Colorado should be favored in, but still, I think that's a pretty even matchup there. UCF on the road's a pretty even matchup. Arizona, first-year head coach. The reason why this game is, a white game is just because it's on the road. And in Cincinnati, I think that's also a pretty even matchup as well. So again, when it comes to the Big 12, there's a lot of 50-50 games here on this schedule for Colorado, and there's a lot of very winnable games here for Colorado for 2024 as well. So let's now get a projected record here for Colorado for 2024. Again, based on this schedule, it's not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on how tough the schedule is. So we count that one green game as an automatic win against North Dakota State, and then you average out that one purple game there at 60%, and then you average out all these yellow games here at 40%, and then you average out the 50-50 games here at 50%, and the overall projected record that you get for Colorado comes out to be 4-8 here for 2024. So it may not seem like a good projection, but again, Colorado, their schedule is pretty tough. That's the reason why this projection came out to be 4-8 for 2024. So again, the same projection as last year, but again, this schedule has a lot of very winnable games. Not saying they're going to be bad. It's just because of how tough the schedule is. And again, those 50-50 games are definitely very winnable. Not saying they're going to lose all of them, and I think they'll have a chance to probably win all of them here in the 50-50 range. But maybe they lose some in there. But you look at these yellow games, they're also definitely very winnable here for Colorado. So again, you don't want to sleep on those games if you're Colorado in 2024. I think all those games in the yellow, you definitely have a chance to compete in them and also very much win them as well. And again, these are all very winnable games when you look at the Big 12 schedule, and especially in the non-conference. Nebraska is definitely a very winnable game. They can definitely go on the road and defeat Nebraska because they beat them last year. So again, a 4-8 projection here for Colorado. It wouldn't really shock me if this team did get to a bowl game this year. If they go 5-7, that definitely is an improvement, but Colorado fans probably do want to see them make it to a bowl game. If this team goes like 3-9 or maybe like 2-10, that definitely would be a lot worse compared to last year. And again, Colorado, I think, should be a very good team this year. And again, not saying they're going to be bad. It's just because of how tough this schedule is. And that's how the projection came out to be 4-8. So give me your thoughts on Colorado down in the comments below. What do you think their projected record is for 2024? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. And thanks for watching this video. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.